So we started with the Chilcot Report, which was an official government investigation that took 7 years to complete of the UK's role in the invasion of Iraq, and specifically Tony Blair's role as the leader who helped along with, was the sort of driver of the invasion along with George W. Bush, obviously. The report was devastating, as devastating as a report like that is going to be. And before we get to, we'll touch on Blair, but we're going to start with Jeremy Corbyn, who is the current leader of the Labour Party. That's Tony Blair's party. And there has been a active drive to depose him following the EU referendum vote. And I think we can see by this response to the Chilcot Report that he gave in the House of Commons that this desire to get him out might have had a bit more to do with him not delivering this speech. So let's play this sound and then I'll get your thoughts on it, Ari.
The war was not in any way, as Sir John Chilcot says, a last resort. Frankly, it was an act of military aggression launched on a false pretext, as the inquiry accepts, and has long been regarded as illegal by the overwhelming weight of international legal opinion. It led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people and the displacement of millions of refugees. It devastated Iraq's infrastructure and society. The occupation fostered a lethal sectarianism, as the report indicates, that turned into a civil war. Instead of protecting security at home or abroad, the war fueled and spread terrorism across the region. It's led to a fundamental breakdown in trust in politics and in our institutions of government. The tragedy is that while the governing class got it so horrifically wrong, many of our people actually got it right. Many, on February the 15th, 2003, 1.5 million, spanning the entire political spectrum, and tens of millions of other people across the world, marched against the impending war, the biggest ever demonstration in British history. All those who took the decisions laid bare in the Chilcot Report must face up to the consequences of their actions, whatever they may be. Later today, I'll be meeting a group of families of military servicemen and women who lost loved ones, Iraq war veterans and Iraqi citizens who've lost family members as a result of the war that the US and British governments launched in 2003. I'll be discussing with them, our public and the Iraqi people, the decisions taken by our then government that led the country into war with the terrible consequences. Quite bluntly, Mr. Speaker, there are huge lessons for every single one of us here today. We make decisions that have consequences that don't just go on for the immediate years, they go on for decades and decades afterwards. We need to reflect very seriously before we take any decisions, again, to take military action without realising the consequences of those will live with all of us for many decades to come and have often incalculable consequences as a result.
And it's so weird, Ari, because I had heard that Jeremy Corbyn was an anti-Semitic Stalinist. But I want your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, the recent push to depose Corbyn, the failed push, we should underscore. He really is one of the only British party leaders continuing to stand tall in the whole Brexit campaign. Right. This push, isn't just because of Brexit. In fact, that's a fairly superficial way to look at it. There's been a huge, almost existential crisis within the Labour Party with the rise of Corbyn. When Corbyn put himself in the running, there was a slew of articles in the British press about how from the Labour centre, in order the necessity to keep Corbyn out, to keep the old left of the Labour Party from coming, to an ascendance. And a lot of that has to do, of course, with the ideological centering of the party, but a lot of it does have to do with the examination of the Labour Party and particularly Tony Blair's role in the Iraq War. As Mr. Corbyn said in that speech, we don't know exactly what the consequences for the people who perpetrated this war are going to be. At the very worst, there could be war crimes, charges, which there are some of the British press who speculate that the coup against Corbyn was less to do with Brexit and more to do with protecting any legal action that could come Tony Blair's way, or at the very least, to protect him from his lasting legacy as someone who forced a deadly, horrible, costly war onto the British people through lies. So it is a protection effort on the behalf of Blair's allies and for him, but also very much to keep the ideological wing of the party centered to where he brought it in the 90s.
Hello, you. I'm Sam Seder. Looking for smart progressive talk that is occasionally amusing? Well, subscribe to our YouTube feed. Subscribe to our podcast. Like us on Facebook. And just generally enjoy us.